Go for it.
I've got to say congratulations first and foremost because you are now a member of the British Empire. Bestowed upon you because of your great work that you've done with British Urban Film Festival. 16, 17 years?
15 this
15, so I'm giving you more years than you're due. But that must have been particularly satisfying for you when you first found out, because obviously getting the award and everybody else finding out is one thing, but when you found out, what were the feelings, what were the emotions?
It was very satisfying because we as in me and my wife and my daughter, we just came back from a trip in Amsterdam where we were invited to screen No Shade, which is a film produced by Buff Originals, which is an offshoot of the British Urban Film Festival. And that offshoot was kind of a reaction to what was going on in the industry, and it's still kind of evolving in terms of the streaming aspect of film, cinema, television, broadcast, and media, and what Buff's place was going to be within that, because up until 2018, it's always been the British Urban Film Festival, the platform, the showcase, etc., etc. But from a production point of view, Buff had nothing to show for it, even though we had produced our own awards ceremony for 3-4 years. I've always wanted to be a director,
Right?
Which is a little known.
So you're a frustrated director. Really.
A frustrated Steven
Spielberg. Was this supposed to be your conduit towards getting?
It's an accidental conduit.
Right. Okay.
But as a result, it's how I met my wife. So
yeah.
Grateful for so many things that Buff has kind of yielded. But Buff was born out of not just that frustration of a director, but a frustration of being in and around the black film sector, which I have been for 17 years.
Yeah, right, that was it.
So far beyond Buff, when that started in 2005. And it was quite surreal being at the then National Film Theatre, which is now BFI South Bank, and I was a member of their youth wing, which they used to have way back. And on their shelves in their vast libraries, you had a copy of Black Filmmaker magazine there, which kind of pricked me, thinking, what's this magazine here? So obviously you read it, and then you keep reading it, you read it again, and then you realise, so this whole world of black film is in a magazine at the BFI. Wow. That's what I was thinking way back in 1999 when I first read the magazine. And then as a geek, you just start researching into who are the people behind it, and then you realise it's Menelik Shabazz, who made Burning an Illusion in 1981, and you're thinking, right, this is history right here. I want to be part of this. I want to get to know what is going on here. So I went to all their film festivals, and then in 2002, fresh out of university at Thames Valley with a media arts degree, I took a summer job at BFM, based at Black Horse Lane, and the first day in the office was like Christmas. Doors open, unlocked, and you had all these films like everywhere. It's like, what films? You had contact details. It was almost like the things that you could do. And that's kind of what kind of got me into that mindset of if I was to run this, how would I kind of see myself? And there was an intention to succeed Menelik at BFM. It never materialised, but I guess the seeds had already kind of been sown for Buff a few years later. And as for the production side of things, like I said, I've always wanted to make films. I've been writing scripts and stories since the age of 5, 6. I remember submitting a script to Channel 4 when they had their Lloyds Bank Film Challenge. I've still got the certificate inside my NRA Red Book. And it's always been there. So when Claire, who I met in 2014, told me her kind of story, she wanted to be an actress, fell out of love with acting, then went into the skincare business. And then she obviously heard about the Buff story and just kind of rediscovered her love for film and black film. And then based on her experiences as a dermatologist and her being a black British girl, the screenplay was born for No Shade, and the rest, as I say, is history.
It's been it's a long journey, I guess.
It is.
And at the start of it, just listening to your love for films and opportunity, I guess getting an MBE wasn't anywhere near your radar. So was there any point along that journey where you thought, actually, I've done a lot of work that maybe isn't being recognised, but ultimately it was?
That's a tough question because, of course, you want to be recognised for what you're doing, especially something that is as groundbreaking as Buff was, is, and continues to be. Because to get an MBE for services to the black and minority ethnic film industry is basically recognition for staying in your lane, which a lot of my comrades and fellow peers have found it difficult to kind of comprehend. Do they kind of go down that lonely road as an entrepreneur, not getting the recognition, not getting the finances, not getting the support, or do you kind of follow the status quo, maintain, reinforce what's already in the mainstream and beyond? So because I cut my teeth in black film, I guess it was very easy for me to kind of stay in that lane. Of course, there were temptations to kind of take up jobs at various organisations, and I was very qualified, but something inside me said, I cannot do it. And so, obviously, I had to take drastic action. I remortgaged our family home to finance Buff when I realised that there wasn't enough funding from public bodies to sustain the vision that I had.
No, you backed yourself.
Yeah,
that's not an easy decision to make.
No, it's not. But over the years, I've realised that there's been people like Kanye King who did the same thing, and Alfred Hitchcock, who mortgaged his house to finance Psycho, arguably his greatest work. When he pitched that idea to the various studios in Hollywood, they literally laughed at him. They thought, film about mental health, it's not going to cut it. Especially you've got the lead being cut off after half an hour, all of that stuff. But Hitchcock just went ahead and did it. He didn't get an Oscar, by the way, for any of his films. But again, that case in point of just staying in your lane and just believing in your craft.
Creating a legacy. I guess that's what you've done. Because as long as I've been doing what I've been doing, Emmanuel, you've been around. So in terms of black urban, film festival, black urban films, you're synonymous in a way that not many people are. Talk about working in that space, though. You've touched on some of the difficulties, the lack of the money, the lack of funding, the lack of anybody taking it seriously, really. But yet there's a swathe of people who appreciate what you do. Is it those people that have kept you going? Is it the fact that if you kind of left this space, there'd be no one to fill that void? No one as qualified as you, anyway.
Sure. Again, a complicated question to answer because there were certain inner drives kind of forcing me to one, stay in that lane, two, persuade myself that because of my experiences at BFM and then later with Screen Nation, where I spent a year with Charles Thompson, MBE, I just thought I could do better. That's really kind of what kept me going. Then being born to traditional Nigerian parents is another kind of drive because they want their children to be blue collar, white collar. So when me as a child was telling them I'm going to run a TV channel, I'm going to make films, they're asking where's the money going to come from, which wife's going to marry you, all that kind of guilt tripping, which still happens now. It's a well-worn stereotype. So there was that drive. And then there was just, I guess, another drive because I was at my alma mater the other day at Thames Valley University, which is now University of West London. And I was kind of telling them the story of when I was at university. And the very first day, the then Vice-Chancellor literally said to everyone on campus that our degrees weren't going to amount to much. So there was that drive thinking, right, I'm doing a degree in media arts and video production, and you're telling me that's not going to lead to anything. And obviously students spend money, borrow money, you got all of that, and then you're getting this being told from day one. So you had all these people to prove wrong. And it's not been easy. And then there's been kind of the downsides to it. I lost my brother to pneumonia at 18. That was back in 2003, and I was at BFM at the time. And out of that death, I just tried to find something positive. So I came up with an idea for a retrospective film festival called Nights to Remember. And it just so happened in that year that Ron O'Neill had passed away, Gregory Hines, and I forget who the third person was. But what I decided to do was to celebrate the achievements of all these black entertainers, actors, filmmakers, retrospectively. And again, that was another seed that was being planted for Buff in later years, kind of how do you run a film festival? How do you program? How do you curate?
Yeah.
How do you make people care about the subject matter and these people and the story behind the films? Because obviously everyone knows about the films and the people, but they don't know the stories behind it.
Mm-hmm.
So in answer to your question, all those kind of inner drives are just kind of what kept me going all these years. But I wasn't looking for vindication, ultimately. I just wanted to make sure that the buck stopped with me. I didn't want anyone else that didn't have that unique experience to then come up with an urban film festival.
Culture.
Indeed. Because at that time there was Channel U, which was set up by 3 white people.
Mm-hmm.
And there was various other initiatives, organisations, companies that were set up by white people that many people could see as cultural appropriation going on. But obviously rather than moan, I just thought, I'm in a very unique position to do something about it. And it wasn't until I went to the Prince's Trust Urban Music Festival, whilst at university, that the penny dropped that you had the Prince of Wales organising this event primarily for black people, 16,000 of them. You had Will Smith, you had Akon, you had all these various ambassadors like Trevor Nelson. And I said to my friend at the time, why can't we as black people do something like this? And hence that whole urban music festival concept they evolved into an urban film festival, which then became Buff.
How has the black urban film space evolved in that time?
Well, I guess when I started Buff, this whole notion of diversity being a thing or an issue or a means to an end, it wasn't being talked about in 2005. But here you had BFM with a magazine and a film festival, but it just wasn't cutting through. You had Screen Nation that modelled itself on the BAFTAs, which had varying degrees of success. They honoured people like Eric LaSalle, Danny Glover, to an extent other black British prominent figures. But not on a regular basis that was cutting through, in my opinion. So that was a reason for me to make sure that when Buff was put out there, that we addressed all these issues from the get-go, whether it was through the branding, the marketing, and the conscious effort not to use the word black, because it was all about inclusivity for me. I've always been surrounded by people that have felt marginalised, not just black people, but working class people, people from Romani backgrounds, white working class, youth, disabled, whatever group you can come up with. All these people I had a natural affinity with. Obviously being born and raised in London, you're surrounded by these people and their issues and concerns every day. You go to school with these groups, you play with these groups, you watch films, you watch TV programs, if you're lucky, with these groups in them. So again, when you're not seeing these people on a regular basis, again, something inside of me thought, why aren't I seeing people that represent kind of my worldview? So again, all these things just kind of led to Buff being a natural place where people could feel comfortable telling their stories, because as we all know, the mainstream is a place where it is difficult to have your story told authoritatively and definitively and uniquely. And I just wanted to make sure that Buff was that place where you weren't going to get any such resistance.
Things easier now in 2020?
It is easier now, but people are still looking for validation in the wrong places. And Buff has been going for 15 years and we still humbly find it difficult to really cut through on a consistent basis. I mean, we've had some very kind of high years of visibility, notably in 2017 when BT decided to kind of back the festival all in. And BT and Buff shared a lot of values at the time. BT was a young upstart in broadcasting. Everyone knew them as a telecommunications company. But they realised that Sky B was eating into their USP, which was broadband. So they kind of took the fight to Sky by pitching themselves in the sports rights market. And so they pitched for Premier League rights, and they gave it away. That's the first thing that they did. And suddenly the whole industry was like, what?
Yeah, on its head.
And Sky had to up its game. Everyone had to up their game. And you can see kind of the effects of what BT have done. You've got the likes of that Amazon entering into that space. You've got ITV trying to grab back some Champions League rights. You've got YouTube and Facebook. So it was a massive thing that was happening with sports rights in 2013. So BT, to an extent, felt that they had accomplished a goal. What was the next goal for them? And at the time, they had renewed their Champions League rights again in 2015, I believe. I was a member of the Royal Television Society, which gave you privileged access to various institutions and buildings. And one of those buildings was the BT Tower in Fitzrovia, which has been closed to the public since 1980. So I went along to their events where they were talking about the success of them as a sports broadcaster. And the then chief executive was talking about drama and kind of the next kind of battleground and how much expensive that was going to cost them, because drama is very expensive in the UK. And then I kind of asked the question about diversity and kind of, could you see a business case being made for diversity and what could BT's place be in that? And essentially he kind of dared me and gave me his card and said, let me know. And I put a pitch together. A month later, we had a meeting at the headquarters in Newgate Street. And as soon as the pitch was over, the first thing that their representative said was, so the dates are free. And I looked at Claire, who was with me, and was like, well, no questions. No, the dates are free. We're going to give you 7 days at the BT Tower. We've got a revolving restaurant on the 34th floor. There's a cinema there. We're going to give you the BT Store platform where you can have your Buff films on there for people to stream. Everything that we'd asked for, they literally ticked the box. And on the day we made it public that BT was going to sponsor the festival, their share price rose by 2%. So literally it was just all kicking off.
All positive.
All positive. And Ashley Waters was going to be honoured that year for 25 years in the industry. And Ashley is someone who we all know has kind of been shining that light as a black actor, but just as a prominent British actor. That wasn't really recognised. I mean, bar the Buffer Award, which he received, he only had one other award, which was for a BIFA Award as a breakthrough back in 2004 for Bullet Boy. And you think of what he's done since then,
hell of a
now,
CV.
madness.
Yeah.
So obviously that was a big thing for us to kind of honour him with BT, and it was live on Facebook, and that's opened a lot of doors. Last year he came back to the festival to present the honorary award to Noel Clarke for 20 years in the industry. And for those that were there, Noel was very humble in accepting the award. Literally his first words are, he just said that he's only just getting started, really. He just felt like, in spite of everything that he's done, the BAFTA, all the films that he's produced, directed, starred, written, he's still got more to do. And that's what it's all about, really. You just got to be humble and just know that at some point people will recognise you and doff their cap and all the rest of it. But as long as it doesn't change you and your goals, your visions, what you believe in doesn't change, then the MBE can only kind of shine a light on what I'm doing and can inspire our peers and the next generation coming up to kind of stay in their lane, believe in their goals, and you get vindicated.
I get the impression, I was going to ask you what would you like to see in the future, but I get the impression that would have been the answer. So Let me ask you this. Mum and Daddy must be pleased now, though, right? Son's got an MBE.
They are up in heaven because they're not here, literally,
no,
to see it. But it's crazy that you mentioned him because when I mortgaged the house back in, what year was this? 04, 05, just before Buffett started. I didn't tell them.
You didn't tell them?
No, they put my name on the deeds.
Yeah.
Because they needed someone else on the deeds.
Yeah, for whatever reason, yeah.
So they put my name on the deeds and I had no kind of credit history. So I literally had access to loans and credit cards. I never had a loan or credit card before, or a bank account even. And then realised, I can get money for this and get equity. And because of my experiences with BFM and Screen Nation, and literally kind of tried to tap into public money for Buff, one of the first grants we got was from the then Film Council at the time, which was a very small amount. But that came with several conditions.
Right.
One of them was that you had to do the festival in December, which is kind of like totally infeasible, and also to make the event free. So to try and make a living from it. To be fair, even to this day, it's never been about the money.
Yeah,
with Buff.
I understand that.
But obviously I had to justify this to the funders. But after that experience, I said to myself, never again will I go cap in hand. And so that kind of what drove me to kind of remortgage the house without telling them. So you had that pressure of waking up every morning knowing that if Buff wasn't going to bring in money, or at least take it to the next level, then there was a key possibility that we would be kicked out.
Well, thank God that didn't manifest, and it all progressed a whole lot more positively than that outcome.
Indeed.
I guess we'll wrap this up by looking forward. 2020. What's happening with the British Urban Film Festival?
There's a lot of things happening behind the scenes. Currently, we're going through the film and script submissions that we get on an annual basis, not just in the UK, but from around the world. We're putting our team together for 2020. I mean, this year was really going to be kind of one massive birthday party.
Of course.
But now you've got the MBE, so who knows what we've got. I say we.
There should be a whole raft of things that are coming your way as a result.
Yeah, absolutely. So watch this space, as they say, but it's going to be a very memorable year, that is for sure. I've been told to kind of like maybe just take a back seat and maybe have a succession plan in place. I don't know about other entrepreneurs, but to kind of pass the baton on is very, very difficult. Especially when you've walked those 10,000 miles, the blood, the sweat, the tears, the sacrifice.
Delegate, sir. Slowly, surely.
It's not easy. It's not. But the thing is, my wife is an entrepreneur, so she knows this journey as well. She understands. But at the same time, we've now got a little one, and she's got all these stories coming up. And then, what does she want to do? Does she want to go into film? I think she wants to be a chef, personally.
How old is she?
She'll be 1 in a week's time.
I'm not sure if she knows yet.
No, she's always in the kitchen.
Yeah, but I'll be honest, I'm not sure she knows yet. It's not for me to say yay or nay, it's your daughter, but...
See, my mum was a cordon bleu chef, so it's in the family.
But you wasn't.
No, I wasn't. I'm only starting to cook now, but...
But they will... listen, my advice to you...
Yes.
Slow down.
Slow down.
Yeah,
Okay.
slow down. Okay. But if she ends up a chef,
I'll be the
one with egg on my face.
It's all good.
Emmanuel, thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations once again and continued success, sir. You've worked hard through. I've seen your journey. I know some of the ups and some of the downs. I still don't think that you're appreciated in the way that you should be. I can still see huge growth in that space, the Urban Film Festival space. So yeah, continued luck, man, and keep pushing.
No, I'm grateful. Thank you.
No worries.